she's gonna take questions. We're going to make sure of that. But there's been a bit of a honeymoon period. I think she's giving Tim Walz a moment.
Let me just also say this, like, don't nobody care but us about somebody taking questions. No, that is very true.
I speak to swing state voters all the time.
But
they have questions, they want answers.
No, but yes, they have questions, they want answers. But you know what doesn't have to happen? Audie doesn't have to ask those questions.
Yes, Audie does have to ask those questions.
Political does not.
Because when fans ask them, Bakari, when friends ask them, when surrogates ask them, they're not getting the real answer. That's why Audie needs to ask them.
This is so in the Beltway.
No, it really isn't. I'm telling you, Bakari, I speak to swing state voters every single day.
So as you might or might not be aware, to this point, Kamala Harris as a candidate has only done a little bit of direct discussion with reporters, sort of an impromptu meeting yesterday. And the fact that she hasn't done a sit-down interview is causing a rift at CNN that I fear may never be repaired. And you saw it right there with Cupp and Bakari Sellers sort of fighting over whether there needs to be a big sit-down interview.
Hey, don't scroll away. Come back. Because before the video continues, we just want to urge you to lend your support to TYT. You power our honest reporting. You do it at tyt.com/team, and we love you for it.
And that's not the end of the exchange. So if you fast forward a little bit in that program, Bakari Sellers, Cupp, as well as Tricia McLaughlin, former communications director for Vivek Ramaswamy, continue to talk about this. And Bakari Sellers has a theory as to why it is less urgent for Harris as the opponent of Donald Trump to do interviews.
I adore you, you know that.
Yeah,
you know that. But you will lose, and you're not the first person to make this argument that she doesn't need to do this. It's very inside the Beltway. This is for us. You lose credibility when you do that. Because if it were someone else, you would be demanding that they sit down for questions. And you know what? It'll make her a better candidate if she does it.
But that's
and why shouldn't she? She should answer these questions for the American people.
And she will.
But why not now?
Because why do you have to? But why do you have to? First of all, let me ask you this question. Just a fundamental question. If Kamala answers no questions today, and Donald Trump says that he had more people at a rally than Martin Luther King Jr., which one is better?
I think that is like a complete misnomer.
Why? Because that's what he said today.
Because it's a false choice.
Because he said it today.
Neither are good. Neither are good.
Just quickly acknowledging that that's not at all what a misnomer is. I think it's an interesting point that like you could have a day wherein Harris talks for 3 minutes on a tarmac to a couple of reporters. Donald Trump does an hour-long press conference, and neither of them coming out of that have really answered any questions. Trump was asked many questions, but that doesn't mean that he answered the questions. He basically never does. Few politicians do. They're asked direct questions and they instead say whatever it is that they wanted to say. Sometimes it's relatively close to what's being asked. Sometimes it's about how Hannibal Lecter would like to have you for dinner or whatever. But that said, the fact that Donald Trump doesn't abide by the norms doesn't mean that the norms shouldn't exist for some reason, or that it wouldn't either be a good idea for democracy or a good idea for the Harris campaign to sit down and do a big interview. And we are a couple of weeks into her run now. Bearing in mind that they're doing this big swing state tour, you could probably do both and maybe benefit from it. And so what do you make of this? Do you think that this is the right amount of outrage over her not doing these interviews? If not, how much longer can she go before it would seem to be a problem from your point of view?
Yeah, I think that as usual, almost everybody there is full of crap. So no, to be fair, Cupp was, I think, almost totally right. But Bakari Sellers, you're right. The person that was replying to him, it's not a misnomer, right? At the same time,
it could be a false dichotomy.
Yeah, it's Cupp is right. It's definitely a false choice. Oh, well, how about this about Donald Trump? Okay, great, but like MAGA does the how aboutisms more than anyone else in the world. Like Donald Trump says something crazy and they're like, oh yeah, what about Howard Dean in 1988? You're like, what? What are you talking about, right? So no, the question is, should she do more interviews or not? Yes, she definitely should. She should from a policy perspective and a thing that we care about. What actually are your positions? And it's actually kind of insane that we don't know a lot of our positions. We also don't know a lot of Donald Trump's positions. You might think, oh, we know everything about Donald Trump. No, we know who Donald Trump is. What his policies are gonna be. He wouldn't even answer how he's gonna vote on the abortion issue in Florida. So, I mean, he's also hiding. And except he does it publicly. He's like, I'm not here. I'm not here. You can't ask me that. You're like, wait, you're right there. What do you mean? I'm not gonna answer it. Okay. So it's weird. Okay, now the second reason why she should do more interviews is because that's how you win. You win by getting out there and getting as much media coverage as possible. Could some of it go south on you? Yeah, that's called life, okay? And you have to do so many and be good at it so that when 2 out of 10 go south on you, you overwhelm it with the 8 positive ones you did. So she's wrong strategically, etc. But the most important thing might be, guys, for me to fill you in on why she's doing it. There's 2 potential possibilities. One is she has anxiety issues. And so if you're reading from a teleprompter in front of a very friendly crowd, it's much easier than if you're getting hard questions from a reporter. But I think that's the minor issue. I think the major issue in this case is they're recalibrating all of her positions. Can we be honest about it? Nobody else in media is honest about it. So remember, she was for Medicare for all, then she was for Medicare for some. No one has any idea if she's for, I have a better idea than anyone else. I will predict ahead of time for you guys, she is not for Medicare for all. Okay, there's no way she's gonna go back to Medicare for all. I know a lot of people are new to politics and they believe these actors, so they're gonna be heartbroken when she's not for Medicare for all when she said she was earlier. But not only do they have to recalibrate all of her positions for modern day politics, like today, not 2020, not 2019, but right now, what is she for, right? But then she has to remember all of that, and she has to formulate good answers for why she switched her positions. And they're doing a lot of work on that. And remember, they can ask you about anything. There's hundreds of issues. So there's a ton of homework being done behind the scenes, both for good, because you want them to know these positions and argue passionately for it, and also for bad in terms of which way's the wind blowing. We're for Medicare for a limited, slight, percentage of the population. And this is our current position, and I know it and I believe it, wink. So also true of Republicans, but that's the reality. Ramesh, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, thrilled to be with both of you. And I've been following your coverage pretty closely since I was last on the last couple of weeks with everything that's gone down. And I do want to say, and I know you all have said this, that she has really nailed the rollout, all in all. I think her speeches have been pretty outstanding. I think there's, of course, a question of contrast relative to Biden, who was not out there at all. I thought her speeches have been charismatic and convincing. And in a way, she is introducing herself, because she was always buried under Biden, to the American people through these speeches. But I agree with you that it's going to be important for her to introduce herself to the American people, because we don't really know the specifics of what her policy positions are until she does these interviews. She does allude to them. She never has, I mean, she of course in the past supported Medicare for all, per your point, Cenk, but she has said multiple times in her speeches, I've been following it pretty closely, that she'll expand the Affordable Care Act. So there are some specific policy positions that are alluded to. They're not super specific, or lower the cost of prescription drugs, things along those lines. But she did nail her choice in Tim Walz. Tim Walz has done tons of interviews. Of course, this was before he was named as the vice presidential running mate. And I do agree with you, though. Political operators and experts, people along the lines of David Axelrod, James Carville, Bill Kristol, and others, I've been following what these folks have been saying, and they've all been saying that it's really important for her to introduce herself to the American people as someone who's very relatable. Walz has done a good job so far coming across as relatable. It's going to be important that she does it, because it's really her and her identity that's going to matter most in this election. We know the presidential election is primarily about the presidential candidate. So I think she's gonna have to come across as not a Californian elitist, not as some sort of leftist weirdo freak that the right is conjuring up. We know she's not those things. We on the Young Turks know she's not really a legit progressive historically, and that's okay. But we also have to be very vigilant that we continue to push and stay vigilant to push both of them to actually support progressive positions that are supported by over 75% at minimum of American people, right? So instead of it being a left-right thing, you've said it perfectly before, Cenk and John, this is more a question of populist versus establishment. She needs to come across as populist, at least and populist lovable to the American people, which I think Tim Walz already has done a good job of that.
I agree.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below, because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.